everybody, it's Brooke with Mrs. Cog Hill Farm, and I'm grinning. Let me show y'all why. I'm gonna show you before I tell you. This and this equals this. Oh my gracious. I have just outdone myself. So there's a story behind this. You see the ones on this left side over here? Those are the well summers that I bought a few weeks ago. But the ones that are everywhere else that you see, those are not well summers. Those are barred rocks. And I like barred rocks too. Although they don't lay the super dark egg that I said. That's the only reason I would buy more chicks, is if they put the dark egg layers 50% off. Well, let me explain something to y'all. So my good friend Catherine over at G&G Farm, she sent me a message, and she sent me a message from the feed store. And she said, guess what? Barred rocks are 50% off. I said, I'm not going. I'm not going today. I've already been to town twice, and she had left. She was on her way back home. But I appreciate you telling me. Well, my friend Catherine gets home, and she goes to put her chicks away, and she realizes that she was shorted one chick. Catherine gets on the phone and she calls Tractor Supply, and she tells them that she paid for X amount of chicks. However, she only got this many. So that meant she was shorted one. And they said, well, ma'am, for your trouble, we will give you the chick that you're owed and a free chick. So I'd already told Catherine I wasn't going to town. I was going to miss out on the 50% off chicks because I'd already been to town. But then she tells me she's short a chick and she needs to go back. I can't let her go alone. So I said, well, how about I drive you? So I get in my car and I go pick Catherine up from G&G Farm. We go get her 2 replacement chicks. And I got a dozen barred rock pullets 50% off. So, y'all, I have 10 Rhode Island Reds that are hopefully all girls that are just about ready to move outside. I have 12 barred rocks that, well, they had been at Tractor Supply for a couple of weeks now. That's why they got marked down. And 5 well summers that are probably about 4 weeks old now, maybe 5 weeks old. So guess what? This means I have 27 additional chicks that should be laying next spring. Now, I'm glad I got those all settled in because I'm waiting on Miss Rachel, our beekeeper, so we can check some hives.
My hair up so that I wouldn't have it in my face. And then I got the Velcro in it. Like a fool.
I'm not liking my bangs hanging in my face. All right, I already got a question for you.
Yeah.
Why are there no bees in that box?
That one definitely has died. There's no doubt about that.
That one was one of the best ones.
Yeah.
What happened?
Either moths or beetles. So here's the nasty part of, oh goodness golly, that's a nasty one.
Wax moth?
Mm-hmm. Now if you want to give this over to the chickens, they are going to have a field day.
And that happened fast.
Very fast. This was less than a month. But we had given them extra room to build out in. And that's kind of the risk that you take. Oops. This is why in the winter we don't leave honey supers on. Everybody has their different ways of doing that, but typically we won't leave a honey super on because when they have too much space, it leaves them vulnerable to predators too, who also want to take up residence. But if this was the one that swarmed, if they split off, they might not have ever requeened. We had a note that there was no brood in the top yet, but that's what we were trying to get them to do, is build back up into a double, because we split these off and brought them over to Catherine's.
And when was that they were healthy? Well, not healthy, but
Less than a month ago.
harvested, yeah, it's almost a month ago to the date that we harvested the 7 frames from this and looked in it.
and that's how fast things can go south.
Exactly. But you know what? They have their ways of going and doing good by themselves, but us doing our interventions can't fully prevent everything. I mean, they're still, even though they're in a, man-made bee box, they're a wild colony. They just try to be the best stewards, but it would appear that they either swarmed, absconded, and left, or something just happened, because the colonies next to them look like they're doing really good. Now here's a wax moth.
That's what I was going to ask you. Just because this one is infected with wax moths, does that mean that these are more susceptible to get wax moths?
The wax moths will make their attempt to get in. So as long as the colony is strong, there shouldn't be any issue with it. And I see and hear bees up top. So we're going to hope to have them be nice and strong.
Oh, I can hear them too. Wow,
They look like they're doing good. And we harvested honey off of here too.
So while there was a wax moth on the outside, we don't see an infestation on the inside.
Correct.
Which indicates that this colony is strong enough to fight it off.
And we harvested all the honey off of this colony, and they're still bringing stuff in, which I'm actually pretty surprised about, because in July, there's not much of anything really available. But y'all have so much planted that it looks like
they're taking advantage.
Definitely had the opportunity.
Now, what is this that's starting on the outer part right here?
That's propolis. So it's
like alfalfa.
And it's still some more over here. So propolis, explain more.
It is made from like saps and stuff from trees. So some people actually use it medicinally. They'll make like a tincture out of it, but it's antibiotic for the bees. But they also glue things together so it keeps things like pests out. So 2 of the main ones are hive beetles and wax moths. And they kind of seal up the cracks. You see right here, there's no space for anything to walk in between.
Okay, because they've used that to seal it off.
Yes.
So will they come back and use this little bit that's right there?
They will.
Okay, so it's just a supply, a storage facility, so to speak.
And that's why this is like glued to, you can hear me like pop it off. All this propolis is to seal it shut.
Gotcha. Well, that's pretty cool.
So they're doing all right. Let's take a quick peek. We won't disturb them too terribly much.
So do you feel that this hive is healthy so far?
Absolutely. And especially for being beside one that had wax moths, you can definitely tell that they're holding their own and doing good. They have a good solid brood pattern, so the queen hasn't slowed down at all.
Wow, look at that.
They're healthy. Look at that pollen they have on the edges.
That's amazing. They are just working away, aren't they?
They're doing a great job. I have absolutely no concern over this hive. And you don't have to get in the hive every time and see a queen, but you should be able to see eggs. And over on these edges, thought I saw some. Maybe it was the other side. Goodness, that's so much brood. She's definitely laying. This is a good colony. And they have a really good temperament. So that's one of the other indications to me that they have adequate resources right now, is that their temperament is really good. You can't always be 100% sure, but their temperament will tell you if they're queen right and if they have adequate food supply. So they're pretty happy bees. This one has a lot of space too. So it would be more vulnerable than this colony, just because there is more areas to defend.
So you won't be surprised if you see some wax moths?
Based off of what I'm hearing, because they sound really good,
Uh-huh.
I would be surprised, but
You never know.
you'd never know exactly.
Wowzers, though.
Yeah, it looks good.
Wow.
That they had about 30% full of honey. So I'd say that that's kind of still the case. When they have new bees, though, and had a break in the brood cycle, it'll slow them down on being able to make wax to put honey in. It's just a long process. In the spring, sometimes it's very fast, but when we get into some of these later months, it takes them a while to draw this out into the honeycomb that you see.
You're such a good teacher, and you explain things on a level that people can understand.
I hope that sometimes the terminology can be quite confusing, so if I do ever get confusing there, let me know. So this one is more sparse. Well, I say that it looks more sparse. All of this is the eggs and larvae on the inside. So those are all the babies to be. And this one's a brand new baby. See how fuzzy she is in comparison to the other one?
She looks different.
She's fuzzy. She just came out. It's
And
probably her birthday.
what's the life expectancy, just in general of a
It
bee?
can be weeks to months. It depends on what time of year. So, especially whenever it's heavy resource time and it's really hot and they're working really hard to keep the hive cool, going out and foraging for nectar and pollen. Their life expectancy is shorter, but in the winter, their life expectancy moves on to months. Now the queen, they say that she can live up to 5 years. I think the oldest queen that I have seen that hasn't decided to swarm, or the colony deciding to requeen, is 3 years, I think was the max.
Wow, that's a lot of bees.
So this one, you can see the capped brood. So the ones with that dark capping over it are the ones that will soon emerge. So they're in the pupa stage. And then it moves out to eggs and larvae. And then we get into nectar. And then on the very corners are honey. This one doesn't have much pollen.
Well, I was just thinking there was not a lot of pollen being brought in right now, is it?
It really just varies.
I gotcha.
It really varies.
Oh my goodness.
The bees went, ooh, thank you. Look at their little, it's not a tongue, it's called a proboscis, I think.
Like what a butterfly has.
Exactly.
Same thing, just.
They're all very excited about that. Now I would guess next to them would be some pollen.
But they wouldn't actually go in and do what you just did to get honey. They're doing that to clean it up, basically, right?
Yeah, but they'll eat it too.
Then they probably need it.
So this is new wax being made. So this is the foundation, and the bees, the baby bees are actually the ones who make the wax. The older ones lose the ability to do it.
So the black is what it looks like when it's first installed, and then the wax is being made. You can see that gold-like tan color, and that's the wax, correct?
Exactly, in that hexagon pattern.
Well, why don't they finish one? And you probably can't answer this. It seems like they wouldn't work on the whole thing at one time, that they would finish one area first. But it seems like they do the whole thing, and then they're just doing a little bit at a time.
I wish I could understand the
I
mind
know
of a
it.
honeybee.
I know it. You don't necessarily speak honeybee all the way, do you?
Oh, I wish. But no, they're amazing creatures. I don't know why they do some of those things. The queen, early in spring, she'll lay any chance she can get. So part of the reason we're probably not seeing honey way up in the honey super is they're definitely collecting honey in this deep frame. So it's twice the size as the honey super frame.
But when you said you didn't want to leave honey in for the winter, does that mean you're going to pull this before cold weather hits?
We'll want to make sure for the size colony that they have appropriate honey storage. So again, for the area, there's 10 frames in this box. So if they have roughly 3 to 4 frames of honey in each box, that should do good for them. If this was a single box and say they only had brood down here, we wouldn't want to leave all that honey, because it will also become cool, and that's more space for them to heat and defend in the
Okay.
winter.
Well, is there anything we could have done to save this hive? Being that it was just checked a month ago?
Looking back, I don't see any specific indication that we saw eggs.
Mm-hmm.
But something, it just happens.
Gotcha.
It just happens. It's part of the beekeeping journey.
And you know, that's so frustrating when you have somebody such as Jason and myself, when we were trying to keep bees early on, and we lost our entire hives to the wax moths. You know, everything we had was gone because we really didn't know what we were doing, first of all, and it just can happen so fast.
It happens, again, that was less than a month.
Right.
And they have taken over almost 2 brood chambers.
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. This is as good as we could hope for. We have these double boxes on.
Uh-huh.
The more bees you have, the stronger the colony is.
And that's definitely a lot of bees.
Mm-hmm. You'll see them. They act as nurse bees. Nurse bees are the young.
Oh, look at her. She's got her entire head down in there.
That's what they will. They'll feed that larva. So this one coming out right now, I think at the bottom of that.
So does it kind of like regurgitate to the baby?
I don't entirely know. They're feeding them a combination of royal jelly, and when they start to get older, it'll have pollen in it too.
Uh-huh.
Their stomachs are really unique. It's how they make the honey process. So I don't know exactly how that works.
Wow, that's a lot too.
Yeah. And I do mean
So
that
another
of,
frame with a lot of bees.
I'd so much rather see a strong colony
Mm-hmm.
than to see a bunch of honey. It's more important for me to see the bees thriving.
Honey will come as well as long as the bees are happy and healthy, I guess.
It wouldn't surprise me if the queen was on this frame. There's eggs in every single cell.
Oh, wow.
Right there in the middle. Absolutely every cell is filled with eggs.
She's been a busy lady.
Good queen. I love your babies. This is her birthday. She's hatching. Or emerging.
Oh, I see it.
I guess is
You see it, Jason?
Happy birthday. Oh, and this one, she's right about to come out. And they have kind of this wet look.
Yes. Oh, she's wiggling.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes the other bees will help her. And it's a little bit more morbid, but if she has
Why is that one all the way down in there?
probably feeding.
Okay.
Oh yeah, she's waiting to see her hind end.
But if she has like a specific, like if she were to have like a virus or anything like that that would potentially contaminate the colony, the bees, some of them have really good hygienic behavior that they'll actually remove her from the hive. Wow. And
their knowledge is just unbelievable.
they can sense a lot of stuff that we're not able to. I'm very, very happy with how they look. That's, you never know. Like I said, the last time we were here, we did a harvest, but there wasn't necessarily a huge amount of progress.
Mm-hmm.
They were kind of in that state where they were just holding tight. But seeing that they're laying, well, you asked about if there was pollen. There has to be. The queen won't lay if there's not resources.
Gotcha.
They accommodate because they know how, again, with how good their senses are of how many mouths there are to feed. So if the resources are limited, that's why in the winter there won't be as many bees. The colony is expected to shrink down or reduce because they can't sustain as many bees with the food resources they anticipate on having.
Does a wax moth actually turn into an actual, I mean, that's what you see, the moth that's hatched.
Yeah, a little caterpillar.
It's the caterpillar, and then the wax moth is what we physically saw flying around.
Exactly. And they, like honeybees, have an exponential amount of like eggs that they can produce very rapidly.
They've got some capped honey, don't they?
Oh yeah, and they're still bringing some in. Look how fat they made that.
That is crazy. It's got to be touching the next frame when it's in there.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So they built out as far as they could.
They have their own little minds.
I sure smell honey.
It's that wax. It smells
Is
so
that what it
good.
is?
Mm-hmm.
Such a... Yes.
You're like, I'm not getting too close.
No, I'm good. It smells so good.
This time of year, too, coming up pretty shortly, we're going to want to treat them to make sure that they don't have mites.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they do, mites like fleas and ticks can transmit viruses.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to make sure they're okay.
And you can't necessarily see the mite.
It is visible to the naked eye, but it is really tiny. It is very tiny. It's like if anyone has ever seen a seed tick that are really small, it's about half that size. So it is possible, but it's not going to be extremely obvious. Just to make sure. Oh,
a lot of
she
bees.
is.
Where?
Right there, see the green dot?
Oh my gosh!
She's a big one.
How awesome! It's been a long time since I saw a queen. Now you did that, right?
Yes.
You put the dot on her.
And she was born this year. Green is 2024 queens.
What a day.
Yeah. That makes me feel good. You always like to see a queen.
And the queen usually stays in the center area, right?
For the most part, because that's where all the eggs and larvae will be. And anything that she needs, she'll have bees tending to her. So if she needs to eat or groom or anything like that, that's kind of done for her. So
I need a queen.
Right?
What? It looks kind of funny.
That looks like drone cells. That is. Huh.
Interesting.
Now, when they make drones, it's either because there's going to be a requeening or that they're just doing so good and have so many resources. So this was only at 60% before, and I'd say we're a lot more full than that this time around.
Oh, good gracious.
Yeah. I would have harvested that.
You call that 90?
This particular frame, yeah, at least 90-95%. I think as a beekeeper, it's exciting to see the honey, but really this is the measure of a good... Uh-oh.
Rachel, you okay?
It was on my nose.
Oh no! There's another one in there.
Is it?
I believe so. It's still in there?
Can you hold that frame?
I can.
I'm gonna hold your knife.
Ooh wee!
Are there more in there?
To be determined.
Poor thing. Where are you unzipped?
It just comes to that little hole.
Oh yeah. Yep. That little hole I tell you to watch.
I think it's some duct tape.
Man, the nose is the worst spot.
Oh goodness.
It's gonna swell.
Not too bad. These are tears of joy.
Oh goodness, I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
Oh no.
That wasn't very nice of her.
It wasn't.
Honestly, it is the most painful spot. All right, now we gotta get tucked back in. There we go.
All right, so Rachel, all in all, you're happy with the bees' progress and think that they're gonna hold out for the winter?
Yes, a lot more bees than I expected. They are picking back up on laying again, clearly bringing in some nectar and pollen. They have their wits fully intact with that sting on the nose.
Poor you. I hate that happened.
They're doing good though.
But you never know what you're gonna find when you open a hive.
Never
I mean, I hate that we didn't notice the one that didn't have bees, but it could have happened yesterday.
It's a double-decker colony, so I'd expect there to be bees full up. We thought there was going to be, or else we would have taken different action. Yeah, next step is treat the hives. Also next step will be to see about removing honey supers because they're probably going to be putting up enough nectar and honey to keep them good for the winter.
Okay.
For what brood they'll have.
Gotcha. Well, we appreciate it, and we appreciate you showing our viewers what goes on with Cog Hill Farm honey, and thank y'all.